Some people spend their entire lives building an identity, but what if someone spent theirs trying to systematically erase it? And what if, after 50 years, the only thing that could reveal the truth was literally written in her bones?
Okay, picture this. It's a cold Sunday morning in Norway, November 29th, 1970. A man and his two young daughters are out for a hike. They're in this remote place called the Ice Valley. Some locals even called it Death Valley. And what they stumble upon, it's the stuff of nightmares. A woman's body, charred, tucked away between the rocks. Her face, completely gone.
So the police start digging, right? But they hit a brick wall. It's like she was a ghost. Her entire identity, just gone, wiped clean. At least that's what they thought. But what if the biggest clues weren't at the scene at all? What if they were locked inside her own teeth, just waiting for technology to catch up?
All right, let's start at the beginning with the body in the valley. Because to really get a grip on this thing, you have to understand just how strange the scene was. This wasn't just a tragedy. It felt like a puzzle, left for someone to find.
The clues at the scene were just baffling. The body was badly burned, but weirdly, only on the front. Her face was unrecognizable. Every single label on her clothing had been meticulously cut away. Her fingerprints sanded off, gone. And on top of all that, her stomach contained 50 to 70 sleeping pills. Now get this. Despite everything, the police officially ruled it a suicide. A suicide? Really?
And that just brings up this massive question, doesn't it? If this was a suicide, why go to such extraordinary lengths to become a complete ghost? I mean, who does that? It feels professional, calculated. What could you possibly be hiding that would make you erase yourself so completely?
So the investigation moves from the valley into the city, and this is where it gets even stranger. Meet the woman with 8 names.
Okay, so investigators get a tip. They find 2 suitcases stashed in a locker at the train station. And inside, well, it wasn't a passport or a driver's lessons. No, it was a kit for creating new identities. There were wigs, glasses with plain lenses, and the real kicker, a notepad filled with some kind of code.
Turns out that code was basically her travel diary, and it revealed this incredibly systematic trail of false identities. She had at least 8 different passports. Look at this. She's Claudia Tields in Bergen, a supposed antique dealer. Then she's Vera Jarli in Trondheim, staying near military bases. Fenella Lork, Elizabeth Lienhauer. Each name was a different mask, a different story, and every single one was a dead end for the police.
So thanks to that notepad, the police managed to piece together where she went in her final months. They had a map of her movements. But what they didn't have was a starting point. And that's where this whole story flips, from a decades-old cold case into a cutting-edge scientific thriller that honestly changes everything.
Right, a voice from the grave. After decades of silence, the woman herself was about to speak.
Think about that. For 46 years, this case went completely cold. She was just the Isdal Woman, a legend, a ghost story. The files were probably buried in some basement, just gathering dust. It really seemed like we'd never know the truth.
Until scientists were given her jaw. See, one critical piece of her had been saved, her jawbone, with her teeth still intact. And in 2016, investigators handed it over to a team of forensic scientists. They were basically betting on modern science to do what decades of detective work couldn't. The key here was a technique called isotope analysis. Now, this is super cool. Basically, think of your teeth as a kind of biological passport. When you're a kid, the chemical signature from the food you eat and the water you drink gets locked into your tooth enamel permanently. So by analyzing those isotopes, scientists can create a geochemical GPS that points right back to where you grew up. It's amazing.
And the results were absolutely stunning. The test revealed she likely grew up near the border of France and Germany. For the first time in almost 50 years, this nameless woman had an origin story, a place. After all this time, the ghost finally had a home.
And they didn't stop there. Using another technique on her teeth, they were able to pinpoint her birth year to around 1930. So that meant she was about 40 years old when she died. Another piece of the puzzle just clicked into place. So you see what's happening, right? Science was building a past for her, piece by piece. They had the beginning and the end. Born near the French-German border around 1930, died in a valley in Norway 1970. But could any of this explain why? Why the 8 names, the wigs, the secrecy? Why did it all have to end like that?
Well, this new information reignited all the old theories, which brings us to the big one, the spy who never was. So what was her secret? The number one theory has always been espionage. I mean, it was the height of the Cold War, and Norway was developing these new Penguin missiles. And wouldn't you know it, her travels often took her near military test sites. But that's not the only idea. Was she part of some criminal enterprise? A smuggler? Maybe? Or was it something much more personal and tragic? Someone fleeing a dark past, or struggling with severe mental illness? Some theories even link her to Israeli intelligence, like Mossad.
But a lot of people push back on the spy theory. There's this great quote from a former intelligence operative who said, "The Isdal Woman was 100% not a spy. Cold War-era spies worked in the shadows and certainly would not draw attention to themselves." And that makes a lot of sense, right? Spies are supposed to be invisible. This woman, with her wigs and all her different names, she was loud. She stood out. So was she just a really bad spy? Or was the attention part of the plan?
So, where does that leave us? Let's talk about her identity in the ice. Let's just look at this timeline for a second, because it really shows you the scale of this whole thing. Born around 1930, near the French-German border. Then jump forward 40 years to 1970, her body is found in Norway, and the case goes cold. Fast forward almost half a century to 2017, and science finally points us to where she came from. And today, her name and her potential killer are still completely unknown.
And that's the heart of it, isn't it? We know where she was born, we know where she died, but that entire life lived in between, it's a total mystery, a 40-year blank space that was erased on purpose.
So what do you think? After everything we've looked at, does this feel like a calculated, maybe even state-sponsored execution to protect a secret? Or was it something far more personal and far more tragic?
In the end, modern science did something incredible. It reached back through time and gave a past to a woman who desperately tried to erase hers. But the one thing it can't give her is the one thing she's still missing. So I'll leave you with this. Science gave her a past, but who will give her a name?